And of course, just maybe you can start by giving us a sense of the key themes that are coming out of this conference.
Well, this is the annual conference of the section on business law of the International Bar Association, as drawn upon by the Nigerian Bar Association. What this conference does annually is to gather all the sectors through the practice areas, through the business community, into a conference theme. And we have various streams of facilitators flowing into that. But this year, significantly, the theme for the conference is globalization of legal practices and legal regimes. And we're trying to see how that is flowing into our shores and how far, in fact, it has gone and what is the prospect for it.
All right, so globalization, I mean, our equity markets are feeling the impact of that. Well over 80% of trades are represented by foreign investors these days. So give us a sense of how ready we are in terms of the business and legal environment for business in Nigeria.
Well, there is a perception, which is global, I think, that the level of activity in any economy dictates the level of services that will meet it. That is not so true anymore, because the fact that professional services and commercial services are being imported into various countries to is it supplement or to upgrade or update the current level of practices, those jurisdictions may in fact be coming true globally. Now, why that becomes important for us as lawyers is that we would rather be the persons bringing the innovation into our systems rather than having it imported by other financial parties who are interested in the crop from that kind of exercise. And so we're trying through this conference to examine the subject and see what the trends are and how far it has gone now and what we must do to catch up with the stream that's flowing past us.
You know, but speaking specifically about Nigeria, I mean, I just came back from the US and I get a sense this is the place to be if you want to invest in, for instance, technology where things like patents would be protected. But give us a sense, I know you're quite focused on the energy side and the power side, but give us a sense of how prepared our environment in Nigeria is for major investments from foreign investors. Because clearly the legal system is important to any investor.
Right. You see, the global investment map is such that any jurisdiction that's not prepared to change or move with change in terms of regimes for investors will lose money to others. It is true that Africa is the next destination for investments, global investments. But if Nigeria does not take adequate steps to capture those investments, you would see stuff like they say that some of our companies are moving to Ghana. Some of the
that's a sentiment I hear
investments that should be destined for a 170 million person market is going to a 30 million market.
Right.
Investors will always look for not just a return on capital or investment, they will also look for an environment which allows them to do the business in the first place. So to the extent that we are modernizing our systems and structures for doing business, for entry into country to do business, then we are becoming more and more attractive. Nigeria still has that pool which should guarantee to it that it will have its fair share. But I promise you the rest of Africa is gearing up on this machinery.
It's a competition.
And the competition is there.
And so maybe you can highlight for us maybe some of the progressive steps you're seeing in terms of our legal environment that may make some investors more comfortable about coming to Nigeria. Because you just mentioned Ghana, for instance, and that's a destination that we're competing with.
Well, what I think we have done in the recent times is taken stock of what we have done before now, and perhaps government has, in its own wisdom, taken the judgment that we are competitive enough for now. There is also the flip side of that, because if you make the environment less than up to par with the others, the investors rush in, and then government panics, and it starts to do things which we either call creeping nationalism or downright nationalism. And that's not the kind of thing that the investment world likes to see. They do not like to hear anything that talks about nationalism, expropriation. They don't like tendencies like that. So it is better for a nation to have a regime that is steady and guarantees a fair return for whatever resources the country itself has. And how best you do that? You have policies that anticipate trends, global trends, and such your rules are made such that even if those trends should alter ever so slightly, you will not be badly burnt. But there's no once and for all business here. It's a continuous race among nations trying to attract investment dollar.
All right, and maybe a final point for me. One of the things when I look back and look at major investments coming into Nigeria, I always think of Virgin Atlantic's investment in Virgin Nigeria and how that played out. Quite controversial. There was a view that the government did not protect Virgin Atlantic in that investment. And then, but my question to you really is, in terms of enforcement, how well are we doing?
Well,
because it's all about enforcing the law. We can make all the rules, we can make all the laws, but it's all about enforcement.
Frankly speaking, the regulatory agencies in Nigeria are some of the most exposed regulators in the world. You couldn't go to any sector which is playing in Nigeria and not find Nigerian regulators either speaking at those conferences or participating in them. So we're aware of what's going on in other climes. I think sometimes the policy flip-flops that we've had has been the bane of our policy making in the trade and business arena. And until we understand that governments can come and go, but policy must stay and endure, we will have the kind of problems that you have just highlighted. Having said that, there are mechanisms by which an investor who's taken by surprise or who is unfairly or unjustly treated can get redress for their investment losses. We have various arbitral bodies all over the world and even within Nigeria to which you can take your case if you think you have been less than fairly dealt with. We have a series of those. We have a series of those disputes internationally now. You may not know it. In the oil and gas industry, the country is defending a number of those things. And
we'll be seeing the impact of that and, of course, the outcome of those arbitration proceedings. Thank you so much for joining us, Soji.